Hello students, welcome back to the next lectures on international business communication. So we dealt with several issues here. We have talked about what international business communication is. We have talked about a little bit about competence in international business communication. And the last few lectures we discussed the specific problems that can arise in international communication specifically. Today we will talk about the barriers to communication. We will talk about the categories of barriers that we come across in communicating with people from different cultures, from different settings, and people who are not from the same mindset, to put it very simply as ours. And so we will discuss the barriers. We have already discussed some barriers, types of barriers, overcoming ways to barriers in first year, okay, in the subject of communication skill. So let us revise a little bit. I had asked you to think about the problems you face when you try and explain things from your mother tongue to people who are not familiar with the same language or dialogues that you use. And so in class I would like you to discuss the problems of translation that are created in the business environment, or the problems that are created due to problems with translation in the business environment. The second thing I would like you to talk about in class or discuss in class is degradation of coincident meaning. We talked about coincident meaning last time. I would like you to talk about whether degradation of coincident meaning is specific to interlingual translation. Interlingual translation means translation across languages. So when we talk about translation, I have been specifically referring to translation across languages, or are we talking about something much more over actually than that? And that is what I would like you to discuss in class, as to whether we talk about the degradation of coincident meaning. So please discuss what coincident meaning is, what degradation of coincident meaning is, and whether this degradation of coincident meaning only applies to translations that happen between from one language to another, or does it happen in other situations also. And I'm sure the teachers can help you with a lot of more that. So now once you have done that, then we can start talking about barriers to communication. So when we talk about barriers, the first thing we need to talk about is the common misinterpretations in intercultural communication. And when we talk about cultures by now, I'm sure you agree with me. We are not talking about only about ethnicity. We are not talking only about language. We are not talking only about community. We are in general talking about people who are different from us in any way. And so we are going to discuss the common misinterpretations that we come across in intercultural communication, which means the common things that we tend to misinterpret about people who are different from us in any way possible. And Barna wrote a paper on this with specific focus on intercultural communication, but I think it applies to all situations across the board. The first thing here is assumptions of similarities. The first, when we come across any person, the first thing we tend to do is we tend to think that the person is similar to us. We tend to view a person we are communicating within the same light as ourselves, and we assume that the person knows which context we are talking from and how we have designed our message, with what intention have we designed our message. We talked about the emotional volitional aspect of message in the initial parts of this series, and we also discussed how context plays a role in interpretations. So when we talk to anybody new, we assume that the person is on the same wavelength. To put it very simply, and to put it in common parallels as ours, and so they know what we mean, and that becomes a problem, because that may not always be true. The second thing we tend to do is focus on the language differences, and we not focus on, but if the differences in the language becomes a problem as we discussed in the last lecture. The problem of translation creates degradation or results in a degradation of coincident meaning, which is how we draw the same meaning from the same description. If we were familiar with the language, we understand what things cannot or what things can in different situations. But if we do not speak the same language, and this changes, the other big misinterpretation that happens is non-verbal in misinterpretations. And I'm not sure if I share this example with you at some point. So right now I will give you example which is happened, that condition or situation happened, that experience was happened. Dr. Anuradha Malik, who has developed this NPTEL course, the syllabus, the course syllabus of that international communication, international business communication. So what was happened to her? As usual, she went to her PhD guide to report her progress, and at that time her PhD guide says that scolded her not completing her assignments on time. And that time Dr. Anuradha Malik was not staring at not keeping eye contact with her PhD guide. And that time PhD guide get misunderstanding why this student is not looking at him, why this woman is not keeping eye contact with him. And we know that someone elder person scolds us, we keep our head down. And exactly the same situation was happened there in front of Anuradha Malik's PhD guide, that is Dr. Dance. And there was misconception, and by observing this body language of Aradhana Malik, the Dr. Dance got misunderstanding. So it happens sometimes. In Indian culture, we look down when our elders scold us. And same situation and this same body language she was following in foreign country in front of that Dr. Dance. And there was misconception was arised, misinterpretation was arised, okay, and it happens because of different culture. So now these are the kinds of non-verbal misinterpretations that happen across cultures, across situations where people do not think alone along the same lines as us. And so when he got sorted out, the doctor sorted out, we realized, and he said that he needs that Dr. Anuradha Malik should look at him. Okay. So I am sure you faced similar situations in your own personal lives and professional lives also, where you didn't intend to come across as rude or insensitive or impertinent or aggressive, but something that you did non-verbally was misinterpreted in that manner. So these are the non-verbal misinterpretations that we are talking about here. The other big problem that happens is preconceptions and stereotype. Now again, there is nothing wrong with stereotyping people. I'm sure people might disagree, but I feel that we have a tendency to stereotype people. We have a tendency to judge and evaluate people because the world around us is so complex. To understand the world around us, we need to categorize things. We need to put them into different slots. Unless we do that, we have trouble in understanding what is going on around us. And so we say, anyways, I want to remember this situation, or I want to understand what is happening. Maybe whatever I'm seeing can be slotted in category A or can be slotted in category B. This is what happens when we have a large volume of files on our computer. Okay. So when we have large files on our computer and we categorize this accordingly, we are categorized according to our country, according to the culture. So this is what happens is we tend to take these large volumes of files, and then when we start going through the files on our computers and we start looking at the files, even if they do not fit into particular category, which we put it into different folders. We create different folders on our hard drive and we start putting these files into folders even if they fit in somehow. So what we can organize and we can sort out, make sense of the mess around us. We attach tags to them, or the computer picks up on some tags that are in those files, and when we want to search them, that is how the computer goes. It goes from one tag to another and pulls out everything that has that word or whatever descriptions we provide on it. The same thing happens when we try and understand the world around us. How do we retrieve things from our memory? We attach some tags subconsciously. Okay, so we attach these tags to everything that is happening around us, and we say this is similar to something I saw or heard in the past. This is similar to, so this can be clubbed as X and this can be clubbed as Y. And we go overboard sometimes with that, and we say, if we go through enough number of incidents with a certain community of people, we feel that everybody in that community will be the same. Just to understand what is going on. Now, of course, I'm sure there are people who disagree and say, no, you have to see things in perspective. I'm a big fan of context, and I would say, yes, you have to put things in a context. But this is how, on a very basic level, we organize things, and that becomes a problem when you are trying to understand people who are not similar to us. So, even though we may need to categorize some situations, we also need to realize that situations are contextual, and every person, every event is unique in its own place. And this is one big thing that happens. The next point is also related. We have a tendency to evaluate people, situations, we results of situations. We have a tendency to infer from situations based on our previous experiences with similar situations. We have a tendency to infer things about people's behaviors based on what we have learned from similar experiences with the same kind of people or similar people in the past. And we have a tendency to evaluate things and we say this is comfortable, this is not comfortable. Last time something like this happened, it was not right. So this time also it will not be right, and then when we in our country hurry to get through a situation in our haste to understand the situation fully, we categorize things. So we evaluate things and we look at whatever we had the inference we had drawn from the same situation or the behavior of similar people in the past, and we tend to evaluate these behaviors along the same lines. Okay, so the next point is high anxiety. If you are worried about how a situation will pan out, if you are worried about how people will respond to us, we have a tendency to misinterpret situations because that anxiety prevents us from seeing things in context. Okay, so why do these interpretations sorry come about? How do we reach these misinterpretations? The first thing is, or how are these interpretations classified as misinterpretations? The reason we add the word mis to the interpretations is one, we can never know the state of mind of other people. We cannot guess the exact context of the sender of any message that is coming to us. The second thing that happens to be is that we depend on signals. Okay, we depend on signals that are frequently ambiguous, signals that often need various things, that often have more than one meaning to inform us about the wishes and attitudes of other people. How do we come to know whether people are thinking along the same lines as us or not? How do we come to know whether people are understanding or people are on the same wavelength as us? We come to know this through the signals they send us through some non-verbal behavior, through some verbal, some words that they use. For example, the example that I just gave you about the Dr. Anuradha Malik's experience with the PhD guide. Okay, that behavior as impertinent. So when means sometimes we try to give the respect by uh, getting your head downside. Okay, we cannot keep eye contact with senior people in our country or in our culture. So really high up in the level of hierarchy, so it was a signal. hmm? uh, Dr. Anuradha Malik's not looking at her guide or his eyes on the floor were a signal to him, and based on the past experience he had with other students who may not be with Indian students but with other Western students across his teaching career. Okay, Anuradha Malik was Indian and she was completing her PhD under the guidance of dance in foreign country. And what she was doing, while she was reporting, her keep her head downside, and it was considered as a impertinent thing. So the signal of a student who had not finished a work on time is not looking at him in the eye because she was wrong came across to him as was tagged with something that he had seen in the past, and that signal informed her based on his past experiences. I am repeating this because this is really important. This is an ambiguous signal. He thought it was an exact signal, but in reality it was an ambiguous signal, and it informed him about what she was possibly imagining, what possibly wanted, and what she possibly wanted, and what kind of attitude he had, and so he assumed that since in the past many students who had done so engaged in similar behavior had been impertinent or had not paid attention to the work even after they had been scolded, he assumed that she will do the same thing. So it was informed him about her wish, about her attitude. Okay, she didn't wish to be serious in her work. Her attitude was that of impertinence, and this is how we come to know about the signals coming to us from the environment, and we depend on these signals. Okay, the next point here is we use our own coding system. Okay, and we depend on these signal. Okay, so the next point here is that our coding system to decide for these signals. We have our own connections in our minds. We make our own connections with different signals in our minds, and we use this coding system. We have our own tags. When we erase the files in our computer, we arrange them based on our own understanding or what should go into the files. Nobody comes and tells us that this should be filed here and that should be filed there. So we have our own coding system. Every single human being on this earth has his or her own coding system to tag these signals and to understand them and to understand their dimensions. Okay, the way we decode the signals we receive signals we receive depends on our state of mind at the time and maybe by us. Let us go back to the personal experience of Dr. Anuradha Malik that she has shared with us. Dr. Dance was upset that a student who is thought had been serious had slacked in her work. So it was his own state of mind. He was irritated, he was angry, he was very upset that his effort in advising Dr. Anuradha Malik had possibly gone waste. He was already angry, and then she come in and exhibit a behavior that he has always associated with impertinence and rudeness and lack of sincerity. So it is like adding fuel to the fire. So his own state of mind was negative at the point of time. He is upset when she say negative. He was upset, genuinely upset any teacher would be. And to have to that upset state of mind, he sees something else that upsets him even further. And that is, so his reaction, which in other cases may not have been the same, was in a way a little more intense than it would have been because of his upset state of mind, because this upsetting, too many upsetting signals were coming to him, and so it was biased. So this happens with us. The way we decode our signals depends on our state of mind. If we are really happy, something nasty happens. We let it slide by 5 because we do not want to spoil our mood, as we say in regular terminology. And but if you are upset and something upsetting happen, and you say this is the last straw on the camel's back, which means I this is as much stress as I can handle, and give me any more stress and I will really lose my temper. So this is what this is about, and this is how these misinterpretations come about. Okay, we quickly will go with the sources of difference that we had talked about at some point, various points on which we can differ from other people. And now we come to the actual thing that we are going to talk about, which is barriers to communication. So all these things are differences we have from people, the physical situation, the context, the mindsets of people. Everything can become a stumbling block or barrier in the accurate interpretation of our messages by the receiver of our messages. Now, these stumbling blocks or barriers or speed bumps can be classified as follows. The first one we will talk about here is physical barriers. And we talk about physical barrier, we are essentially talking about the physical things that have prevent us from listening to, or from hearing, or from receiving the message. So when it's paper message, it could be the bad quality of printing. When it is an audio message, maybe the sound is too low, or the words are garbled, or the signals is not clear. So those are the physical barriers, or the person is differently able in a way and cannot see or hear things properly, so that can be a physical barrier. The other barrier here is the psychological barrier, and this could be attitudinal barriers. The first one here is attitudinal barriers, which leads to a problem with perceptual barriers, which include preconceptions, as we talked about earlier. Stereotyped preconceptions are things that we assume ahead of time, or we preconceive, which means we decide about another person before we actually have had a chance to know them as well as we should. Okay, we should stereotypes. Stereotypes are, we put them into different categories, different assumptions about what people may mean after they start talking, and our assumptions about where they are coming from and what their intention are, and associations regarding these people that we are talking to you, know what we associate them with: good, bad, sincere, insincere, honest, untruthful, stuff like that. The other psychological barrier here is the emotional barriers that we have. Our own emotions prevents us from same things in the right context, from understanding them in the right context. So another one here is the tendency to evaluate. Tendency to evaluate, we just discussed that. And we have personality differences, introverts and extroverts. One example of different personalities, we have aggressive and we have calm people. So personality differences can also become a major barrier in and prevent us from interpreting any message in its true context. For example, when we talk about introverts, the introverts here are, when we talk about introverts, we are essentially talking about people who are not very comfortable sharing their feelings. Those people are called introvert. Extroverts are people who are very comfortable or appear to be very comfortable sharing their feelings with people outside their own comfort zone. And if you are an extrovert, you are dealing with an introvert, it becomes very really difficult, because to we fail to understand the reason why somebody is not comfortable sharing their opinions, and that in turn connects with our attitudinal barriers. So all of these are interrelated. It is not either thing or that our own responsibility may lead us to have different attitudes, or may result in us having different attitudes and different perceptions than people with a different personality than ours. And so this is how it becomes the big barrier in understanding where the other person is coming from. If I am an aggressive person and I really do whatever it takes to get whatever I want done, and I come across a person who is more calm and more passive, then I will not be able to understand why this person is not willing to put in all here she has maybe peace of mind is more important to passive person or calm person than getting the work done. And for me, getting the work done is more important. And so even if the passive or calm person says that I would like to reach the top, I would like to do X and Y and Z, I say, but now will you do it? You are not willing to put in the efforts it requires, and the person says no. I will give it time. It will all work out. So I assume that this person is only pretending to be concerned about the work on hand, and person is not really concerned about the work on hand. And the person doesn't seem to be, or doesn't appear to be putting in the amount of effort that is required to go into this. So that is what we mean by personality differences being a big barrier in communication. Okay, we will stop here, and we will discuss the remaining part in next video lecture. Okay, thank you.